That's the fastest arrow I've ever shot from a from a bow. All right, it's getting close to Total Archery Challenge time, and for the first time in a few years, I'm going to be making some changes in the arrows that I use. I thought this would be kind of a cool follow along as I make my arrows, sight them in, you know, practice the whole process. Sorry, the neighbor's dog's barking. I don't really have much I can do about that. But in years past, I shot these Easton Axis long range 4mm, you know, and they're a great arrow. I hunted with them the past couple years. Could easily have shot them again. The only problem I had is the weight is a little bit more than maybe I wanted. All right, so these Easton Axis long range, I think I've got 125s up front, are coming in at 411 grains, which isn't bad for hunting, but for Total Archery Challenge, when you're really needing a flat arrow, I wanted to get something closer to 300. I could try to find an 80 grain tip maybe or something and use that, but I don't know. I just want to try something new. I do think these are a good budget arrow. You can find a dozen of these on eBay for a little over 100. You can find the 5mm Easton Axis for $100 for a dozen, which if you're going to lose them, those are good. That's the way to go. The past few years, I think in 2 years total of doing Total Archery Challenges, I've only lost 3 arrows in 2 years, something like that. So I'm not too worried about it. You know, things obviously could be different this year, but those Easton Axis were great arrows. This year, I'm going with the Victory Rip XV Extreme Velocity. The reason is these are an extremely light arrow. These are 350 grains. I like the Victory stuff. I've had issues with the tip staying glued in, so hopefully these are better than the VTAC 27s were as far as the tip staying in. But these are very light shafts. Carbon to carbon is 26.5. There's an Outserts, so that'll change that a little bit. But just these shafts are 179 grains, so very light. I don't know that I would deer hunt with them, and I may play with tip weight and get it up a little bit more to as far as hunting goes. But it's cool. I think they'll be really cool for Total Archery Challenge, having that light of an arrow, shooting that flat and that fast. So going with the lightweight, I'm going to use 2-inch TAC driver vanes on these. Again, trying to be a little light. I normally would use 2.75s, but trying to stay light, trying to stay low profile. I'm using a 3-fletch instead of a 4-fletch. I generally like a 4-fletch, but I might shoot these out of my 33-inch lift. If I'm shooting them out of the lift, I don't get much clearance with the cable guards. So going with a low profile, and I'm going with just a 3-fletch instead of a 4-fletch. So I'm going to try really hard to get these dang near perfect. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to square up both ends on this G5 squaring tool, and then I'm going to knock tune them. And then today I'll probably get out and shoot them through paper and rotate the nocks as I do that. And then I don't know that I'll get a sight tape in today. It's a little windy, but if this wind lays down, hopefully we'll get the sight tape going. Alright, so we've squared both ends on all of them. Now I'm just going to get a little bit of this carbon out from the cutting and the dust of the squaring jig thing. I did not cut these. I had these cut at a shop. And then we'll start the Outserts, getting that put on. These are the Elites. They're a little more expensive. You could get the Gamers for about $150, I think, on Lancaster for a dozen. So a little bit more than I think the Easton Axis long range and the Easton Axis 5mm would cost you. But you're gaining a lot in speed, I hope, based on how light they are. The Outserts on these are aluminum, so it's not a great outsert as far as hunting goes, but it is great for foam and tack. So with that being said, I'm going to use Cool Flex, the blue Cool Flex, so that I can take those Outserts out and put a titanium one in if I want to, or a steel one or whatever, if I want to hunt with these. So these are the little aluminum Outserts. They're super light. I think they're 30 grains, maybe 50 if I don't think they're 50. They're very lightweight. All right, so we're gonna fire this up now. A little too hot there. Get her calmed down. Start putting some of these Outserts in. Twisting it as we go in, and sometimes it dries quick and you got to finish it up. Alright, so we got all 12 of them with our Outserts on them using the Cool Flex. You've never used Cool Flex before, you need to try it. I've had really good success with it's staying in like super glue would. The benefit is if these get bent, if I hit a rock or hit a tree, I can just heat this tip up, pull that out with a pair of pliers, and it's ready to go in another one. Or, you know, same with your knock or bushings if you're using 27s or something like that. So Cool Flex is really good. I have had some issues with my Victory 27s not staying in, like they'll pull out in a target. So I ended up having to super glue those in, even though I Cool Flexed them. So hopefully these smaller diameters, the Eastons, I've been using it for a couple of years and had no issues. So maybe it's just a fat arrow problem, I don't know, but and it may be a Victory problem. If anybody's having issues like that with Victory, let me know. So I'll know I'm not the only one. Putting 100 grain tips on these. Again, we're trying to keep it as light as we can. All right, so I've got my cheap spinner. Got my paint pen. I'm going to put just a little mark there on the shaft, and we'll spin it. Looks good. Do the same thing on this one. Repeat 12 times. So they all spun good. I've got little marks on the shaft where the knock's going to be. I'm always going to have that mark up. Well, I say that. I'll rotate around here until I get where they're paper tuning nice and straight. I've got to get them in my bow here in the vise. Check the level. Make sure it's as close as I can get, because right now they're set up for 27. So it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment. Looks pretty good. I'm a little bit low out front. So the good news is this is a micro tune Hamsky, so I should be able to just loosen this, turn this, raising it until that bubble is just about perfect, like that. All right, so I know the lighting's not great, but shooting through this homemade paper tuner, got my bag back there behind it. I always put like a line to kind of reference and aim at, so I can try to get a consistent hole across there with all of them I'm shooting. Like an idiot, I built this too short, like I built it, and so I have to get like a really wide split to get down here level with it. So anyway, it is what it is. We're gonna see if we can get some bullet holes with this. So all 12 of them, we have shot through paper and knock tuned. For the most part, they were really good bullet holes. I had about 2, maybe a third one that would throw you a tear, and I'd have to spin it. And one of them had to spin multiple times. You can kind of see like this. But for the majority of them, it was one-shot bullet holes. And all I was doing was having my painted piece up with the indicator that's on the knock itself out. That's how I started every one of them. And if I had a tear, I'd spin the indicator to the other side, to the inside, keeping the paint up. still didn't come through, I'd do paint down, indicator out. Just kind of had a little pattern that I do, and for the most part I think they're all really good. And now these are elites. Gamers, you'd have to do a little more on this, I would assume, but the elites, relatively good bullet holes on all of them at this point. So I'm going to fletch up 6 of them, and we'll let that dry, and then we'll shoot them through a chrono. If this was just an arrow I was just going to shoot in the backyard, wouldn't necessarily be that worried about it. Grab my primer pen, just run it down that. Not trying to get them super wet or anything, just to, if the tip's wet on this, we're good. Down this channel, just dabbing it, and then run the tip of that bottle back and forth. Alright, so we've got our 3 fletch, and here's why I like to use a little extra glue. You can see where it's pushed out a little bit, where the vein channel is. I just run that Q-tip down the inside of those veins, just kind of spreading that glue out. Now I don't know that it makes a seal or not, but it sure makes you feel good like it does. Alright, so we've got 100 grains up front. We've got 3 TAC veins, 2-inch TAC driver veins. Let's see what these end up weighing. 312. So those are 312 as opposed to what I used in the past and what I hunted with in the past. That come in about 420. That one's coming in at 420 with a 3 fletch. I believe that's 125 up front. Hunted with these last year, and these are 2-inch 4 fletch with a wrap. So these are coming in at 433. So we're looking at 100 grains less than prior years. Let's go see what kind of chrono speeds we're getting out of these bad boys. All right, 312 grains. The sun's kind of setting, but I'm hoping we got enough light to get some numbers on this. 312 grains through chrono. $324. God dog, that's smoking. Shoot a few more times, try to get an average, but this is I think this bow's right at 69 pounds. That's the fastest arrow I've ever shot. That was 324 3 times. These are the ones I hunted with last year. These are Easton Axis long range. I actually took these to TAC last year, this 3 fletch one. So we'll start with the 3 fletch. I think this is 125 up front because I ended up hunting with these, so I did 125 up front on a hunting setup. So .287. So about 50 feet per second slower. And this is a 4 fletch. .282 on the 4 fletch. The 4 fletches were a little bit heavier, so that makes sense. That's crazy how much faster those extreme velocities are. We'll shoot these at some indoor target faces, just kind of to get my 20 dialed in and see how they shoot, how forgiving they are. The beauty of TAC veins is you give them a few minutes for that glue to dry and they're ready to go. You can shoot them as long as you ain't just blowing them through targets. Shouldn't be an issue. So I'm only probably 10 yards right now or something. We'll kind of start working our way back. This sight tape is for a 550 grain VTAC 27. God, door. So this will not be accurate, but we can start getting 20 roughed in, and when I enter the information on precision archery, I'll print some tapes. All right, so kind of wrapping up this arrow build. I've got 20 pretty close to dialed in on these Victory Extreme Velocities. These are crazy fast. It's amazing how fast and flat shooting these are. Even, I think I went back, this is my old sight tape, I turned it back probably 10 yards worth to get it to what was actually its 20, and I was still, and at 10 yards higher, I was still hitting really close. So I'll hope to throw in a picture of the sight tape once I get it made. I'll have a video of sighting this in and shooting some of the longer range shots on these. You know, the only negative I've heard is they're not super durable, which with this lightweight aluminum outsert, I could see that. If I was going to shoot a deer with it, I'd replace this outsert with a heavier one, a you know, steel or titanium one. But for, you know, shooting 3D, shooting TAC, seems like it's gonna be a great arrow. So anyway, we'll see. Hope to see you guys at TAC. Like, subscribe, appreciate you guys. Check out bowcrew.com, Triple R Woods 20 at checkout, save yourself 20%. Total Archer Challenge coming up. You need some cool hunting shirts. Don't show up in like a polo or something. Show up in a cool hunting shirt. bowcrew.com. Appreciate you guys.